Hey, that was pretty bad. 112 to 98. The Raptors lose to the Brooklyn Nets. And in a game where, once again, a lot of the Raptors players were out. In this game, Scotty out with that sprained knee. He was questionable and then out. Pascal, we're coming closer to his return, but he still has to get evaluated again. He's been doing practice stuff. Fred dealing with the same sickness that he dealt with earlier, only he got it again. That seemed to be what Nick Nurse said, in the pregame stuff. Gary Trent was back, Boucher was back, but the regular guys, Achua, Otto, Siakam, Van Vliet, Porter, Barnes, they're all missing. It was a short. Even Banton and Champagne were missing. Ron Harper Jr. hit 2 threes in this game. That was kind of fun for him. But yeah, they're missing a lot of guys. They lose 112 to 98. This is the Raptors Reaction Podcast. I'm your host, Samson Folk. What went right in this game? The Raptors, they did really well in offensive rebounding. The second chance points they won. The fast break points they won, I believe. They turned the other team over. They kind of did a lot of the things that are associated with their ethos, but they didn't make any shots. And it's tough to win games in the NBA when you do not make shots. And that stems from OG going 7 for 20 to Gary going 6 for 19. Thad I thought was awesome, by the way. You can just read these Malachi 3 for 12. He hit 2 threes early. The first 2 shots of the Raptors game for what it's worth. And, that was pretty cool to start a game out that way. Obviously, that did not stick. That was not early on, maybe people kind of thought, hey, this might be a theme. Malachi actually had good games against Brooklyn last year, too, when they're playing zone. I think he had like an 18-point game against them last year. And anyway, Boucher, not only did he have 16 rebounds, which is great, and had 8 offensive ones. What runs up offensive rebounding faster than anything else? Missing your own bunnies and grabbing those boards. Boucher did a lot of this. He went 2 for 15 from the floor. So while guys like Wancho and Doughton both went 4 for 9, and Thad was 6 for 10, and Thad I thought was just awesome in this game once again. It was tough sledding for the Raptors. The first half, I think we saw like the 14 first half points from Gary Trent, 13 first half points from OG Anunoby. They finished with 19 and 15 respectively. They did a pretty good job. Gary, the shot making, OG kind of getting downhill, keeping and applying pressure on the Nets defense because the Nets don't have a very good defense. The fact that the Raptors scored 98 is not really saying, hell yeah, the Nets have figured something out. It's probably more so just how limited the Raptors currently are. And yeah, so OG and Gary, they did a pretty good job in the first half of finding their own shots, and that changed in the second half because the threes didn't start dropping either. And then there got to be more help sent at those guys. Gary, maybe less so, but Gary's not really that big a threat to punch a gap and drive to the rim. Regular rotations can still kind of keep him away from that. But OG in particular saw a little bit extra attention. The defense started to shift more. And so where he was taking guys off the dribble, getting to comfortable finishes at the rim, getting a step on a guy, beating the help side to the glass, all that kind of stuff. That wasn't really the case in the second half because the help was coming earlier pickup point for the dribble. You got to take a more contested shot once you get there. Missed a lot of shots there. Did some pull-up stuff that didn't really work out for him either. It's tough. That's just the game isn't always going to work out. And once again, the Raptors are shooting poorly from 3. I guess it's, what do they shoot from 3 tonight? 24%. That's about what they've been shooting over the past 5 games. 24% from 3. Not good. Not good at all. And while it's great that Ron Harper Jr. went 2 for 2, Wancho went 1 for 5, Gary went 1 Gary went 1 for 8. OG 0 for 3. Thad didn't make any, but, how many do you want him shooting really? So, yeah, he was 0 for 2. The Raptors are in a pickle, dude. And not only that, but the defense got pretty bad in the second half as well. Like, this game was always going to result in a fair bit of overloading on Kyrie or KD, and Claxton slips to the rim for a bucket, or, the ball squirts out to Royce O'Neal for a 3, or Markieff Morris or something like that. That was always going to be in play, of course. But the fact that Durant had 12 points on 10 shots and had 5 assists, and that Kyrie had hardly any points in the first half and then blew up in the second half. It was a case, and Kyrie wasn't even on ball that much to start out the second half. He was mostly just where the ball was ending up on these possessions. That changed, of course. He ended up he was the guy who got the ball at the start of possessions and finished at the end of possessions as well. But man, there were also some plays that Simmons was just running to the front of the rim. Not enough pressure at the point of attack, not enough resistance in the second level of defense, and just getting right to the bucket is not acceptable for a guy who's as limited an offensive creator as Simmons is. He's still a good player. It's just you can't give him a lane to the rim. That's the one thing he can do on offense that will give you trouble. You need to make sure that doesn't happen. And they did a bad job of that even. Nurse was upset after the game. We all talked to him, did the media stuff. He was upset. He did add the caveat, he kind of recognized, he's like, "Maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I don't wanna dig too deep on this group of guys. Look who we're all missing." And before the game too, he was asked if he looks forward to the challenge of trying to scheme up and, play a certain style with a lesser group of NBA players. Not lesser, but just not a full team, playing with the end of bench guys and what that asks of a coach as far as creativity, and he said no. He's not into all that. Probably because he wants to win more than anything, but it's also like this is a team that yes, they Thaddeus Young is an initiator and not primary, but secondary in the current iteration of the Raptors. He's a secondary creator, not tertiary, secondary, like second to one guy on the floor. They throw him in the pinch post, let him isolate. They run tons of their connective stuff through him. Like, hey, Thad, if you see something, just take it. Because if you see something, that means we might get paid. We might hit pay dirt, and we want to hit pay dirt because we're having trouble otherwise. And Thad's been great at that, but it does not help that Fred was out tonight and is out again. It doesn't help that Gary and Fred and Gary and OG, I should say, we're having trouble navigating what was going on there. It's tough, basically. And on the other side of things, that defense, some of that is effort, some of that is technique, some of that is being overmatched. KD, Kyrie, no matter how you want to slice it, no matter what type of kind of bad vibe situation the Nets are in, which Jacques Vaughn, I'm sure that guy, man, when we're doing the pregame media availability, there's a there's some chutzpah to him, dude. He's got the juice, he's in there, he's trying to make people feel good. I understand why he was the guy he takes over the team. He's like the team chemist, right? He's trying to kind of make the chemistry work. And, even though the Nets are bad vibes and all that kind of stuff, and certainly not playing up to their ability, we just saw it last night. This is still a team with a lot of talented players that, Ben Simmons is like an all-star when everything's going correctly. Irving, can challenge for a first team All NBA if he had played a full season. However, all this time. KD obviously is one of the greatest players ever. They're supposed to be good, and, they have some quality role players in there too. Some of them had a better night than they usually do. Royce O'Neal, for example, had a better night than he usually does. That 15, 4, 7, and 4, 5 of 8 from downtown, that's not a Royce O'Neal night. We don't have to pretend that's a Royce O'Neal night. That is not a Royce O'Neal night, not usually, but a good game for him and well done. The Raptors, talk about that technique is sometimes it's being a little bit lazy. You're not like Juancho had, he had to do 2 rotations in a row just because of the position he was defensively. He looked a little bit lead-footed getting around to that point. That's like that's not necessarily laziness. That's just like, damn, maybe you can't get there. Technique is, some guys they don't know how to defend screening actions as well as some other players on the Raptors. As good as Jeff Duncan was on offense, there were some subtleties defensively that he struggled with a little bit. The rotational stuff is they're making mistakes all over the court. And while they had a good finish to the game because they're playing against all these, the end of bench guys on the other side, it was a tough time for them defensively for most of the second half. And it was Kyrie and KD really just being able to kind of pick a spot, beat a guy, make the read. And that is basketball. Pick a spot, beat a guy, make a read. If it's that easy and you can achieve every step of that, you're gonna be in good shape. And the Nets, they were in good shape in this game. I'm sure they had no problems with how it turned out in this one. Even across the board, their starters 12, 15, 14, 29, 14. Even scoring, except for Irving, who had that huge second half. I would like to focus on Jeff a little bit. I think this is what I'm going to be writing about him and OG to some degree, but it was really cool to see the Raptors 3 possessions in a row go to, that inverted pick and roll. And it was OG on ball and Jeff on the setting the screen. Sometimes it filtered into other things, sometimes it was just that action, but it was really cool to see Jeff being used in those situations that we typically see from the Raptors star guard, Fred VanVleet, and acquitted himself quite well. I thought he was good. There was some juice he had just taking the ball. That first step of his has always been quite good. He's a herky jerky guy. He's fast twitch. He beat some guys off the bounce, got to the rim. The cutting was pretty good. Made a couple jump shots. I liked it a lot. Good game from Jeff Doughton. I don't know what Nurse is taking away from this run of play. There's no practice tomorrow, so we won't talk to him tomorrow about it. But Friday, who knows? We'll see, man. There's some interesting things happening at the end of the Raptors bench. Juancho is another guy. I talked about not having the foot speed and for that double rotation or whatever, but there's some good reads he's making defensively. The three steals is good for anybody in any game. I know OG Anunoby has made 3 steals look kind of ho hum, but Juancho, those 3 steals, predominantly in that first half, he made it look quite easy to read what the Nets wanted to do. He made really great decisions, some of them aggressive. Every time he was aggressive, it seemed like it paid off. And then the second half, they were just behind the 8 ball so much. But 32 minutes for him in this game, 10 points, 10 boards, 3 steals. If he had shot better from 3, this could have been really, really great because he was also cutting quite well on the inside. So tough game, man. They're missing too many guys. I don't know. They can't MacGyver their way out of it. It just is what it is. Reggie Evans Award has to go to Thaddeus Young because he was on the podium after the game, and we were all talking about, where he's been and how because he played his 1100th NBA career game today. And so that was tremendously cool. That was something that was awesome to see. And on top of that, everybody's asking about his vets. Who taught you this? Who taught you that? All that good stuff. And he mentioned Reggie Evans as one of his vets who taught him a lot. Well, daggum. If not him, who could you possibly give the Reggie Evans Award to? Of course, it goes to Thaddeus Young, even though I know Chris Boucher by rights should probably have it because he had 16 rebounds and he went 2 for 15. That is a tremendously Reggie Evans night. But since Thad shouted out Reggie Evans in his post-game presser, I just have to give it to him. I'm sorry to say. Top quick action comment is from Chilango. Quote, this is reinforcing the idea that we need to add a near starting quality combo guard who can hit the 3. End quote. I mean, I guess? Is that not what Gary does? Question mark. Um, I, I'm not so sure if that's. I would like a shot creating guard. Um, maybe near starting quality combo guard. Maybe that's what you mean. Hitting the 3, all that kind of stuff. I guess I'm not sure. We haven't seen the Raptors healthy in some time, and I'm gonna be honest with you. When Pascal Siakam was on the Raptors, and he was healthy, I saw the vision. I wouldn't have been able to tell you if they needed a starting quality anything on that team. Pascal Siakam, when he was playing, made a lot of this make sense, including Gary's fit for what it's worth. OG is probably the guy you could point to and say he is the guy who has stepped up the most and could benefit the most from Pascal, siphoning off a few possessions his way and the Raptors paying more attention to what OG needs. I think that's all fair. But you look at Fred, you look at Scotty, you look at Gary, you look at the bigs, Boucher, Precious, all these guys. They they'll all be much better when they play around Pascal. So I don't know if these for you, totally Chilango, yeah. Reinforce whatever you want, of course. For myself, I have a tough time reinforcing those ideas until we see what this team looks like healthy, which who knows what the hell that looks like or when that comes this season. But hey, that's that's the hand you're dealt, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, tough injury luck, a strange injury, I mean, flu bug or whatever whatever's going through the locker room that so many players have had, that Fred is now having for a second time. I don't know how you escape that. I just don't know. This is like the fact that they're now 9-9, impressive. 500 during, I think they're 4-5 now, or maybe 4-6 without Pascal. I can't remember, but it's tough to win games without that guy and without half your roster either. So they've been in a tough spot. I don't know what to look for on the roster currently. Anyway, thanks for writing in, Chilango. Thanks for listening in, listener or viewer. If you're on YouTube, like the video, subscribe. If you like RaptorsRepublic.com, go to the website, subscribe. And if you're listening on the podcast channel, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you. And whether you got into this in the morning or at night, have a blessed day and goodbye.